Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today to learn about our Iceland multi-sport trips. I've been doing these tours to Iceland since 2016, and I have a very nice slideshow. And I don't know why at 7 a.m. this morning, I thought, you know what? I gotta redo it. So I redid the whole slideshow. I felt like I think I could disable bombs now. Actually, like I kept looking at the clock, like I have 5 minutes, got 2 minutes. But what we're going to cover today is just our summer multi-sport trips. Because we have a lot of tours, and we'll definitely take questions about some of the other tours. If you have questions at the end about the Northern Lights stuff or the knitting, and there's going to actually be dedicated presentations just for those. Okay, let's get started here, and I'm definitely going to introduce our team in an appropriate place in my slideshow. Okay, I gotta share my screen. Cheryl, can we see my screen?
You're good. I can see your screen.
Yep. Okay, we can see it. All right, slideshow. Play from the start. Okay, so hi, everybody. I'm Tara Short. I'm the founder of and CEO of Green Adventures Tours, and thank you so much for joining us for this Zoom info session where we take a moment to talk to you a little bit more in depth about itineraries that you might be looking at on our website, and then also give you a chance to meet the people behind it and to ask questions. And today on our call is joining me is Inga in Iceland, and Emily. First of all, Inga is one of our local guides in Iceland, and Emily is one of our trip leaders. So for every tour that we offer, we work with the local operators in the places that we travel to, so that you can get the most accurate information and firsthand information about what it's like to live there and the history of that place. But also with your local guide is a tour leader, and tour leaders are there to assist the guides. We might be just helping you, get ready for communicate what you need to wear for the next day, or just assist the guide with, with activities. So you can always count on at least 2 staff people with you throughout your tour. And like I said, I'm Tara Short. I'm the founder of Green Adventures Tours. I started Green Adventures in 2009 when we led our first trips to Alaska and Baja. And our women's trip to Baja is the reason why we have 16 new destinations, because all those women said, "Where are we going next, Tara?" And Iceland has been forever one of my favorite places. Well, since I first went there in 2016, I fell in love with it. And it has attracted me to not only the beautiful landscape, but that's also where I developed a love for hiking. And now I try to spend as much time there as possible. Inga, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Tara. So my name is Inga, or Ingibjörg Guðrún Guðjónsdóttir, but I don't put that on anyone to get that name right, not even Tara. But I have been guide for over 35 years here in Iceland, and I do multiply other things as well. But I really like guiding since I came into it, and I love my country, I love my nature, and I just like being around people. So yeah, that's me.
And Inga is, Inga, she undersells herself, because this woman, she's a fashion designer. She curates tours. She what else? You've not only you're part of founding a big tour company in Iceland, and we are so lucky to have her as our guide, because she just, as a lot of people say, Inga knows everything, and she really does. And she's a very, very caring and attentive. She pays attention to detail, and all of our clients love her.
Thank you, Tara.
Emily.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Benz, coming to you from Plain, Wisconsin, about an hour west of Madison, where it is snowy and cold. And I'm always delighted to be here. I started traveling with Tara a long, long time ago when she was first starting her company, and I'm so excited to be one of her trip leaders. This will be my second trip to Iceland, heading back there this June, and I'm delighted. I'm so excited. I'm going to follow her footsteps and get back there every year. That's my plan. It's just a magnificent place. And by day, I wear a lot of different hats. I teach yoga, I teach outdoor ed seasonally, and run a little farmstead with my family and raise a couple kids here, and really like being with people. Also really like helping people sort of craft their peak experiences in life. So I hope that this trip might be one of those for you.
Great. Well, and Emily has known me since way back when. And I think I was 28 when and Emily was close to that age as well. Said to me, and she was a teacher who took a group of students on to a place on a trip in the Bahamas where a company I used to work with. And she's like, Tara, if you started your own company, we'd follow you anywhere. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know anything about this. But she was one of the very first people that gave me like the courage to say, like, you can probably do your own tours. And it's because of Emily that first year we ran 2009 Alaska and Baja. So I'm so happy that she came like that. And then that life has brought you back around so you could be a trip leader. Because what Emily is so good at is she's got a very soft and tender side and nurturing and her trip is the mindfulness and multi-sport trip. So it's a slower version and a more I like about being present program that is similar to to my current multi-sport trip. But I love that Emily's doing that because she just has this energy about her that is calming and helps you connect. So thank you, Emily, for being part of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, just a little bit about Green Adventures. Here's all the destinations that we're going to. Some of the newest ones are Greenland, which I'm going with Inga in July, and we have Peru, and our Wyoming trip is one of the newer ones too. So these are all our destinations, and all of them are designed to help you fall in love with wild places and help protect people, places, and ecosystems through ecotourism. So that's what we, in addition to making sure that you get the best firsthand information, the reason why we hire local guides is so that we know that that money is going directly to the places we're visiting. And our promise is that you can travel solo, but you won't be alone. So whether or not you sign up on a trip with your best friend or by yourself, you're always going to have somebody there to support you. I tell people, I am your first adventure buddy. I call all of our participants adventure buddies, and that stem from my own local adventure buddies, or the people I could call up and say, hey, I have a question about, or hey, do you want to do ... and they're like, yes. So there are people that say yes to adventure. And so we are your first adventure buddies. We're saying yes to adventure. We're here to help you. We'll help you with packing list, entry requirements. We can help you suggest travel insurance, which travel insurance. Our team will be waiting for you on this trip at the hotel when you arrive, because getting from the airport to the hotel is super easy. And then on site, you have 24/7 support from your trip leader. And then when your guide joins us throughout the trip, you have both the guides and your trip leader. So you're never alone. Okay, so what do we have here in terms of all of our 2024 Iceland tours? It started off with one trip in 2017, and somehow, and then it was just 2 or 3 trips, and now this year we're going on 9 trips. Well, seven right here, but we have other student groups too. So in March we have a hot springs and mindfulness retreat, and June 15th, mindfulness multisport. July 16 to 22, we have a Lagavegr trek, which is a hut-to-hut hiking trip. And then July 24 to August 1 and August 4 to 12, these are our standard multi-sport trips that we've been doing for years. And then September 8 to 16, Inga and I, along with her friend and also a knitting designer, Bear Gross, are going to be doing a knitting and Northern Lights tour, and then November 4 to 9 is Fire, Ice, and Northern Lights, which is a multi-sport tour that does completely different activities and ties in Northern Lights. And that is led by Kelly Van Lannen, and Inga will be doing that as well. Because we have so much to cover, we're not going to talk about knitting and Northern Lights. We're just going to focus on the multi-sport tours. And I just would like you to see how we're doing in terms of filling up our trips. So the ones that are crossed out are full. The ones that are not have space available. We just added Emily's June 15 to 23 mindfulness and multi-sport trip. So that is that's hot off the press. And you can see for July and August where we're at in terms of, and in November where we're at. So if you fall in love with Iceland just by doing this, seeing this presentation, it's time to sign up. Okay, so this is the overview that I'm gonna just go through the slideshow, and I will jump in, like I'll let maybe, I'll ask Inga at times, to give her feedback on some of the sites. And Emily, you as well, because you've experienced some, you'll experience a little bit of different things. But overall, we're going to go over the geography. We're going to talk about the multi-sport tours, the journey, and traveling to Iceland. What does that look like? And of course, how to sign up. So Iceland, where is it and why is it special? So Iceland is this little island here between Greenland and Europe. And what makes it special are a couple of things. One is that let me go to this one first. I like this one first. Okay, is that Iceland sits on top of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which there's a mountain range that goes through the Atlantic Ocean, and above the mountain range, this is the part of that mountain range that you can see, which is Iceland. So it's sitting on this mantle plume, and because it's got this plume under Iceland, it also has a lot of volcanic activity. Inga, do you want to share anything about the volcanic activity? Oh, you're muted.
I'm unmuted now.
Yeah, now you are. Now you're.
Yes. Yeah, you might have been following up on the news. I think it made to America the news about the eruption in Grindavik area. It's Grindavik is close to the Blue Lagoon, which is a very popular natural phenomenon in Iceland, where most people that come to Iceland, they bathe in. So it is actually closed now because of the eruptions. It started 3 years ago, and actually we have now had 4 eruptions. And the last eruption just started this weekend on Sunday, and it was the worst one for the people of Grindavik, because a small rift opened up just behind the houses on the western part of the village. So 3 houses burned down because of that. But the good thing about rift volcanoes, because Tara was showing you how the rift is going through Iceland. This is the Atlantic Ridge that is drifting apart, and the volcanoes are mainly on that ridge. And so a lot of the volcanoes that we have all types of volcanoes in Iceland. Some of them are very dangerous, like the stratovolcano. They are mainly on the bigger mountain tops, nothing close to Reykjavik or the Reykjanes Peninsula. But a lot of the volcanoes on the Reykjanes Peninsula is what we call fissure volcano. And fissure volcanoes, they are always connected to a center volcano that has a magma chamber under it. So the magma chamber starts to fill up, and little by little, all the magma has come up through the or up towards the earth crust, and then it finds its way through fissures in the bedrock and comes out somewhere, very often not directly above the magma chamber, but somewhere up maybe some kilometers away. And that's what is happening around Grindavik right now. When we had a lot of earthquake there, and it opened up fissures in the bedrock, and that's why the fissure is coming up close to the Grindavik area. The good thing about the fissures eruption is that it doesn't last for a long time. It starts off with a boom, usually, and it only lasts like very active for a day, and then it starts to cool down. And if it keeps on, it forms craters, and then it mainly have like 1 or 2 crater active. So it depends. Sometimes it's just a day or 2 days or a week, sometimes 3 months. We never know, actually, but they are never what we call touristic, in a way that it's slow running lava. There is no ash coming up or any, yeah, it's a lava that you can come quite close to and look at. You can almost touch it. You don't want to touch it, of course, it would burn.
Right. Well, what makes the Grindavik volcano bad is that it's destroying a little town. So
it's close to a town, and that's the bad thing about it. We haven't had this for over 50 years.
Yeah. So that's what's a lot of the media is you have to be careful of the sensationalized media, because a lot of it makes it seem like, Iceland is burning down. All of Iceland is being evacuated. Unfortunately, it's a small little town. And I'll show you on the next slide. But yeah, so so there's all this volcanic activity, and Iceland the authorities are very well prepared for they monitor the volcanic activity. So they will monitor the seismic activity to see if there's earthquake swarms, and they will make evacuations. It's kind of like when needed, right? But it's like here, we think about a hurricane or a tornado warning, we've got processes in place to take care of people. But
yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
So, but what was cool about if you get rid of the whole volcanic component, is that you're seeing seafloor spreading above the ocean. So at one point on this trip, you will be in North America, which is on this side, and on the another part of the trip, you will be in Europe on this side. So so it's where the North American and Eurasian plates are separating, and Iceland is growing about 2 centimeters per year. And then also Iceland has lots of has glaciers too. So you've probably heard it called the land of fire and ice. And Iceland has the second largest glacier in Europe, and it's the Vatnajökull glacier over here to the right. And we do get to see parts of that glacier on the multi-sport tours. So Iceland, the land of fire and ice, you get to see both evidence of geological geothermal activity, like volcanoes potentially, or even just the hot springs and thermal pools, but then also the glaciers themselves. Okay, so Thingvellir National Park is one of the places where you can see the fissures. So this is kind of what Inga was talking about, where the fissures break and the lava oozes out and then it cools. On one of the main multi-sport trips, you'll be walking through the fissures and learning about the geology. On the mindfulness trip with Emily and June, we will snorkel in the Silfra fissure between the Europe and North American plates. And also, another great reason that you should go to Iceland is because it's a combination of ancient and modern culture. You're going to learn about the Viking settlement from 890 when Ingolfur Arnaldsson came to Iceland and settled Reykjavik. You'll learn about farms and textiles. You'll fall in love with sheep and Icelandic wool. Even if you're allergic to it, you'll be like, I can't believe this place. There's so much information and history around wool. And then also there's renewable energy component. There's greenhouses being powered by renewable energy and homes. And then also, homes are heated by the geothermal energy too. So it's modern and past coming together. So our summer multi-sport tours, just at a glance here, we cover basically Snæfellsnes Peninsula, all the way down to Yoku, Solera, and Glacier Lagoon. So it'll be a little bit north and west down the south coast. And Inga, you can correct me, but does it take, like, if we were to, just to give people scale, if you're going to drive all the way around Iceland, is it like 16 hours, 24 hours? How long does it take if you did it
Yeah, it's about 16 hours if you drive, or 20 hours probably if you drive the whole, the smaller ring road. Well, what do we call the ring road? It is not the Westfjords or the peninsulas.
Right. It's like yeah, it's everything except for this little like wing sticking out. But so this is like 16 hours. Emily, when you were in Iceland, what is it about Iceland that you love? Like what makes it special to you?
My gosh. Oh, it's like every time you turn around, another bend in the road, there's another absolutely breathtaking view. And yeah, I mean, it's just stunning. We did one hike, I remember, above Skogafoss in particular, and everybody was like, oh, let's go up and see the top of this gorgeous waterfall. And Skogafoss is like an iconic waterfall. Like if you were to say to a elementary school kid, draw me a waterfall, they would draw you Skogafoss. And we got up to the top, and then it just goes, then there's just miles and miles of more falls and more beautiful rocks and more, and it was just, it's endless. It's just, yeah, it's magic around every corner. Yeah.
So this itinerary is to help you get a feel for a little bit of Iceland. I mean, like I said, I've been coming since 2016 and I haven't seen it all. I'm sure Inga lives there and she hasn't seen it all. There's hikes you want to do, right? There's things you haven't.
Yeah.
I
say it's a good thing because I have something to do when I retire.
Okay, so side by side here, the multi-sport tour that's in July and August versus the mindfulness tour. Okay, so anything that's highlighted is different than the mindfulness tour in June. We will do a Viking boat tour, Viking sushi boat tour. We do horseback riding, glacier trekking. And I'm going to show you pictures of these things: Glacier Lagoon Zodiac tour, kayaking tour. We do a 5-mile hike to the Reykjadalur hot springs. We visit nature spas like the Blue Lagoon and Kremsvik, and we'll go to the tomato farm greenhouse. And there's a variety of hikes that we'll be doing that. This page would be like 3 pages long if we talk about all the places we would stop. Okay, so this is the July and August trip. And then the mindfulness versus multi-sport. So this is the one Emily is leading. That is a slower paced version of our multi-sport trip. So you see, we still do the Viking sushi boat tour. We still do horseback riding. We still do a kayaking tour, nature spas, and tomato farm. But the difference is we have snorkeling in Silfra. You're going to do morning yoga and evening mindfulness activities. And you'll do a Glacier Lagoon kayaking in addition to the kayaking trip that we do out to the North Atlantic. Emily, do you just want to touch for a second on what does the yoga look like, and how do we start our day and end our day for the mindfulness and multisport?
Yeah, it'll be dictated a little bit based on where we are, because we still travel around, from like a small guest house to another accommodation. But in the morning, we'll start with movement that's tailored to the group that is assembled. So we'll all kind of get a sense of everybody's interest and ability in terms of how bendy do we want the yoga to be, and sort of adapt it to the group that's there. And then in the evening, there'll either be, group activities. You'll kind of have the option of partaking in maybe a guided meditation or a journal prompt that I give you and send you back to your room to do. There's poetry that we'll share together every day. And really just, when Tara says slower pace, I think the pace is still we're still going to cover a lot of ground,
yes,
but it's really going to have a lot of pause to pay attention and a lot of pause to sort of check in and see, like, how am I experiencing this place? How is Iceland receiving me? And I think that's an exciting part of it. Yeah. So definitely tailored to the group and the needs and the abilities and the interests of the group in terms of how active and how physical the yoga practice is. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted you to touch on that because the next slides, the journey that we're getting into is gonna be all about really the activities themselves. And so, okay. And at the end, if anybody has more questions about the mindfulness component, we'll take those at the end. So here they are side by side, just so you could see the difference. And it really comes down to snorkeling versus the glacier trekking, and a glacier lagoon kayaking versus a glacier lagoon Zodiac boat tour. And then also we're fitting in a 5-mile hike. It's 2.5 miles in, 2.5 miles back, on the multi-sport July and August trip. Okay, let's talk about the journey. So you get yourself to the Keflavik International Airport, and I give you, once you sign up and the trip is confirmed, which the July trip is confirmed, August trip needs one more. Maybe that's you to confirm the trip. And once the trip is confirmed, you get travel parameters that tell you when the time frame which you should book your flights. And so you arrive in Keflavik at Keflavik International Airport, but because it's just more convenient and economical for you to pick a flight that works for you, it's better that instead of us getting a bus and having that bus meet you at the airport, that you arrive at the airport and you get a fly bus to Reykjavik. And I give you plenty of instructions on that. With the exception of Emily's multi-sport trip, I usually have people do it this way because we've had people come in early, and then we show up with the bus that we paid for everybody, and there's only 2 people there that we're picking up. So this just always seems to be the best route. So you'll fly into the airport at Keflavik International Airport. You'll get the fly bus, which is right outside of the airport, and they'll take you to Reykjavik. It's about a 45-minute drive to get to Reykjavik, and there is a quick changeover at the bus station, and then you'll get on a smaller bus, and it'll take you directly to your hotel. And I think people from North America freak out when they hear bus. I don't know, like in the United States, if someone told me in Chicago I had to take a bus somewhere, I'd be like, and I didn't know anything about it. It's not like that. It's so easy. It's so easy that millions of tourists do it every year. Okay, so we'll explain that to you. But that's how you get there. You get to, and once you get to Reykjavik, your trip leader will be there waiting for you, and then they'll do an intro, like a first meeting. We'll go out to dinner, and then the next day is when we meet our guide. And this is how we get around on our tour. We have a mini bus that's anywhere from 14 to 18 seats. It's got nice big windows, so you can see out the window. It's comfy on the inside. The one thing we do not have the luxury of is a ton of space for oversized luggage. So you're going to be given a packing list, and we ask that you please do not overpack, and we ask that you use soft-sided duffel bags, so that we can stack them accordingly and into the back of the car, so that there's more room more room for you in the seating area. And we have great clients, and we haven't ever had an issue with like people needing to sit with luggage, but this is how we get around. And the required gear. So I feel that when I die, on my tombstone is going to say, do we need our rain pants? Because that is a question that I'm asked all the time. And in Iceland, the answer is probably. You will probably need your rain pants. So we always have your rain gear available. So rain jacket, rain pants, waterproof hiking boots. Those are your essential summer Iceland pieces during this trip. And then also, you will want to have at least one non-cotton base layer like merino wool or silk or cashmere. Because of the base layers, if it's wet and rainy and cool, if you're wearing cotton near the base, near your skin, you're going to feel much colder than as if you were wearing something like merino wool at your base. So we do have a packing list that is tried and true, and will help you know exactly what you need to bring on this trip. In terms of backpacks, you don't need anything special. Just a regular school backpack would be fine, because your backpack is just going to hold all the things that you need during the day, like extra layers, your chapstick, water bottle, cords for charging things, snacks. You don't actually need your backpacks for hiking. And then cameras. On this trip, I don't recommend you bring the big DSLR cameras or things with lenses. They're most likely just going to be cumbersome to carry around, and they are going to get wet. And your best bet is to take pictures with your phone. And because we don't really stay, with the exception of like even maybe Emily's trip, we don't really stay in one location very long to like take like long exposure photos to like waterfalls and stuff. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the journey and the areas that we cover here. So Inga, in
Yes.
a couple of sentences, how would you describe the Snæfellsnes Peninsula?
Oh. Snæfellsnes kind of has it all. It's has this beautiful mountain chain with a high volcano sitting with a ice cap on top of it. The lava streams that had floating down all the way to the coastline. So you have the sea is present there. So it's the battle between the sea and the lava and the ice, I would say.
Nice. And over here to the right is Snæfellsnes Jökull, which is the volcano glacier that it will mesmerize you. It's everywhere. Once you are like, once you get on the south, once you get around like the curve around the north part of the peninsula and then head south, and we spend a lot of time in the south, you're always in the shadow of Snæfellsnes Jökull. And I, because it's, you know, nearly 24 hours of daylight, I love waking up at like 1 a.m. and looking out the window to see how the light has changed around the glacier volcano. And there's all these theories that like, you know, if there's aliens were going to come, they would come here. There's all this supernatural hocus pocus related to this mountain. And it does feel like a special place. So if anything, just even seeing Snæfellsnes Jökull. But this is a place that we'll stay at for 2 nights. We're staying at a farm. I don't have the best photos to represent this, but the views are spectacular. The little cottages are super comfortable. They look out over a horse farm. The horses will be right out your door. You see Snæfellsnes Jökull. And at this location, Emily, what happened to you last year?
Oh my gosh, we woke up to a mama giving birth to a baby right outside. There's like these panoramic windows at breakfast, and one of my travelers is like, I think that horse is well. And I turned over and looked and I said, that horse is having a baby. And of course the caretaker who is our host there was just lovely and gracious, and she said, let's just hang out and breakfast will linger longer, and we'll keep an eye on this mama together. And we adjusted our itineraries to stay and watch the baby stand up, and totally awesome.
Yeah, so it's I absolutely love that location. But we'll do some sightseeing on Snæfellsnes, and we'll go to the Saxhole crater. We'll go to Kirkjufell, Church Mountain. Those who are Game of Thrones fans, that's one of the most photographed mountains in Iceland, and it was also in Game of Thrones. We'll go to Golden Beach, the Búðir Beach with the Black Church. So we'll drive around, but we'll also do some activities too. Like we'll do horseback riding. We'll have 2 options. Those who are advanced riders can go down to the down and ride on the beach. Now, these horses, once they get to the beach, they're like, you can tell they're like, we're at the beach. It's kind of like when you ask your dog, do you want to go for a walk? You know, the tail wags, the ears go up. They're like horses, those horses are like that too. So we need confident riders who want to take them to the beach, and you could canter and gallop. But those who decide, you know, walking is fine for me too, the group will split up and you'll walk along the beach. And so you'll still have the same beautiful scenery with Snæfellsnes Jökull. We do the Viking sushi boat trip, which that goes into Breda Fjord, which means the big bay, right? Inga? Is that Big Bay?
Yes. Yeah.
And then we'll go up, and the boat will take us to different rock formations. We'll learn about some of the geology. We'll get up close to the birds. You'll see puffins and cormorants and terns and skuas and kittiwakes. And then they drop a dredge and from the dredge, they pull up these like invertebrates and scallops. And so you eat fresh scallops with sushi, with wasabi and soy sauce right off the back of the boat there. And we also take a couple of short hikes. And one of my favorite hikes is the walk along this old lava field from Arnastapi to Helnar. And we look at wildflowers, and depending on the time of year, there might be crowberries and just, you know, terns flying around us and sheep. So it's absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we'll move on. So we spent 2 nights up in Snæfellsnes Peninsula. Now we're moving down towards the south in Thingvellir. I have a question. Can anybody hear the train going by? Is it overwhelmingly loud? Okay. Of course, a freight train decides to come by right now here in Chicago. Okay, so we are going, we'll head towards south towards the Golden Circle. Now, on the way between the Snæfellsnes Peninsula and the Golden Circle, we stop at Kremsvik nature spa, and you'll soak in a variety of different temperature, like hot springs, and you could also walk out and do a cold dip into the fjord. And this is just such a breathtaking, no pun intended, because you'll learn that you can do a cold plunge without losing your breath, right, Inga?
Yes, you
Yes.
can. Everyone can.
Everyone can. She's great at teaching you. But how would you sum up the Golden Circle, Inga?
The
What is
Golden
it
Circle.
called, the Golden
That's what everyone thinks that is a must to do in Iceland. It sums what is good about the Golden Circle. It sums up geological formations and Icelandic history, because history was kind of made in Thingvellir National Park, where the continents are also drifting apart. So it's a magical place. It has this magical power to it. Like, yeah, I think it's magical.
Okay.
So-
And it's a popular place. It seems like everybody who, like, there's people who fly to Reykjavik can also do a stopover, and they go to Europe. And so those people who typically that stay in Reykjavik will do the Golden Circle tour. So you're going to leave Snæfellsnes, this peaceful place that's somewhat quiet, and all of a sudden you're like, where did all these people come from? It's not like the Colosseum in Rome, but it is it's pretty busy once we get to the Golden Circle. But because it has because it's geologically and historically such a important place to visit, we can't miss it. So here's back at Thingvellir again. Remember I talked to you about that's where you find the evidence of the rifting due to the plate tectonics. We'll walk through the fissures. There's like old remnants of like market stands, and you'll in this area, because this is where the Parliament was first held in, was it 930? Is that what it was? 930?
Yeah, 930, yes.
So that was
You have learned it all.
I know.
Amazing.
It's amazing. So 930, all the chieftains from different parts of Iceland came here, and they held their first parliament and established their laws. And so there's that component in addition to the geology. And this is also where those who are snorkeling will snorkel in the Silfra fissure. So when you snorkel, you can't actually touch both sides. You can only do it if you're scuba diving. But to scuba dive here, you have to have a dry suit certification. So it's still pretty brag-worthy to say you snorkeled in this super clear water between the plates. But we don't do this for bragging. Okay, and then the Gullfoss waterfall and geyser, 2 other treasures of the Golden Circle. Gullfoss waterfall is not the biggest waterfall in Iceland, but it is probably the most photographed, and it's one of the first acts of conservation. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because you should come to Iceland and learn those things, but it's still you can expect to see a rainbow here, beautiful little wildflowers, and there's 2 tiers for you to explore, 3 tiers for you to explore. And we go to geyser, the geyser basin. So this area is geothermally active, and you'll visit Geyser, which is the geyser that named all geysers around the world, and its cousin Strokur. Geyser that named all geysers is not active right now. It's dormant, but Strokur is right there, and it erupts like every 15 minutes. 30 to 100 feet high, depending on how powerful the eruption is at the time. And we have to see geothermal energy in action. So we'll go to the Freidheimer greenhouse, where you'll get a tour of the greenhouse and learn about how they're growing their tomatoes, utilizing technology and also geothermal. And like they use honeybees imported from Spain to pollinate the flowers, that pollinate the plants. And they also have these other like bugs. That's a horrible term, but like these other like a bio warfare. They bring in another type of insect that keeps away the pests inside of this greenhouse. And then of course you'll get to have all you can eat tomato soup and homemade bread. They do have gluten-free bread for those who are gluten-free, but and they have other things on their menu too that are all tomato-based desserts. It could be anything from tomato desserts to tomato different drinks. So lots of stuff. Okay, now we're gonna head to the South Coast. And that's this whole region in this green box. And I described it as where unicorns live. Because I think if there were going to be unicorns, they would certainly be living on the south coast of Iceland. It's like towering waterfalls around every corner, rolling green hills, black sand beaches with like trolls coming up, basalt troll formations, and then big glaciers that are coming down like fingers off of mountains. So the South Coast is spectacular. And so many waterfalls. In the previous slide, that was Skogafoss. Seljalandsfoss waterfall is one that you could actually walk behind and take 360-degree views. And then just down the way, about a 5-minute walk, is Glu the Fraurebuy. Did I say it right? Nope. Oh, you're muted.
Gljúfraboy.
Gljúfraboy. Ah, so close.
Gljúfraboy.
Gljúfraboy. So that one we walk down 5 minutes, and you go into like a crack in the rocks, and you walk through some water, and then there's this waterfall coming out. Absolutely beautiful. And then all the these are just some of the beaches that we stop and we'll see along the way. We'll stop at the little town of Vik, which is usually a place where we get gas station ice cream. And I love gas station ice cream. It's like Dairy Queen, but real. And you too will love gas station ice cream. But this is, we take pictures from this church looking down at the trolls that you see out there, and you'll learn the story behind the trolls. Reynisfjara Beach is actually on the other side of Vik. If you were to go over that mountain, there is this a black sand beach there, a high impact black sand beach with basalt columns that are very like you could take beautiful photos and you'll learn about basalt columns. And then there's the Deholae Nature Reserve, which is a great place to see puffins up close too. Hi. And as I mentioned before, this is where you're going to start. As we start to get further and further east, you'll see these big glaciers coming out of the mountains from like even the smaller ones. Mýrdalsjökull will be like by Vik and Skogafoss. But then as you get towards Skaftafell National Park, more to the east, you have Vatnajökull Glacier, the largest glacier in Iceland and the second largest in Europe. And look at this. I mean, this massive glacier coming down. This is Fjallsárlón Glacier Lagoon, where for the multi-sport trip, we take a boat tour. For the mindfulness trip, we go to Jökulsárlón, and that is where you do where you'll kayak with icebergs in that lagoon. And this is where you learn about more geology, about volcanoes that are under that ice cap, and then about glaciers. And we stop at a place called Diamond Beach, and this is where at the right tide bergy bits will wash up, and you can get some really amazing photos of these bergy bits. You can also pose on them. I would like you to know that I am sitting on this iceberg that is on land. I'm not sitting on an iceberg that is actually on water. That's unsafe. But it's like it just depends on what what types of bergy bits have washed up on the beach. We will, as we start to make our way back from Vatnajökull, we'll start heading west, and we will do glacier trekking on the Sólheimarjökull Glacier, which is part of the Mýrdalsjökull Glacier. And Sólheimar is like a tongue of that glacier. And we walk up to the base of it, put our crampons on, those those cleats that have metal spikes. You'll learn about how to safely walk on the glacier, and then we walk up the glacier, and your guide will take you around and show you different features like moulins, and talk to you about moraine and volcanic ash. And you see in the bottom right-hand corner here, this is one of the scientific studies that's being done to measure the thinning of the ice. Glaciers in terms of climate change are measured on how much they retreat, and how much they advance and how much they retreat, and then also how much they accumulate or how much they thin. And so that's what this device here is, to see how is this glacier? Is it accumulating or is it thinning? Okay, so then we start to work our way south coast. Now we're going east to west. We're heading back. So we go as far east as Yoku's hour-long glacier lagoon, and then we start to head back. Now, it's not a boring drive just going back. We will stop at some of the places that we hadn't seen along the way, or we'll spend, that's how we'll do that. We'll stop at places we haven't seen along the way, and maybe even take a longer hike at one of those places. But so in this section, right before we get back to Reykjavik, we do two activities near the town of Selfoss. This one's first. We go kayaking, and this is very easy kayaking. You see, we're sit on top kayaks. You're outfitted with these semi-dry suits, which are, if you fall in, you're gonna get wet. But they do keep you from, like, if there's splash or rain, and also wind protection. So all you have to wear is just like, if some days it's like 80 degrees, or 70 degrees. It's super warm during the day. So I would just have a t-shirt on under that and leggings. But if it's an overcast, rainy day or cold day, you'll want like your merino wool base layer and maybe a fleece jacket, thick warm socks. And then they put all the other gear over that, including dive booties that go over a waterproof membrane. So you, in theory, stay dry. And the chances of you falling out are really, really, really slim. These are super stable kayaks. And so we start off by going through we meander through this flooded grassland, and then eventually go out into the North Atlantic, and we paddle along these rock formations that are old lava formations. There's sticking out in the rocks. This is and we go looking for seals that are hanging out on the rocks or hanging out on the kelp beds around there too. Actually, my slides were slightly out of order. And then after we go kayaking, so this is on the multi-sport trip. See, this is where we kind of do a little bit more like more activity in the day. We pack a lot in. So on the multi-sport June and July trip, we go kayaking, and then we go on a 5-mile hike. On the mindfulness trip, you will go kayaking and you're going to go swimming in the pool next door. Okay, so that's just a slight difference there. And on this hike is not that difficult. It's 2.5 miles in, and but you have to walk uphill. So this is where trekking poles might be nice for those who need it. And you just go at your own pace. We go up nice and slow. We might stretch out, but you don't feel like you're ever left behind. And you can just enjoy the walk as far as you want. And then you're like, yeah, I'm tired, I want to walk back. You can walk back down to the cafe restaurant. Or we've had groups separate, where Inga has taken a group out into the Hertigerte geothermal town, and she'll go to the greenhouses and do a little tour just around town, instead of for those who don't want to do the hike. But the ultimate outcome of this hike is that you end up at this hot river, and you soak in these hot springs, so you'll walk out there with your bathing suit either on or in your bag. When you get to the hot springs, you change in the natural area. There's a couple of barriers, but there'll be other people around. And then you could soak for about an hour, and then we hike back out. And for the Blue Lagoon, so then the last day on our way to the airport, we stop at the Blue Lagoon, and we do a 2-hour soak there. And the Blue Lagoon is, Inga, would you like to describe to them what the Blue Lagoon is?
The Blue Lagoon is big. I could say it's a meat soup.
A meat soup?
Meat where we cook tourists in.
Oh, nice.
Well, this is actually, it's a phenomenal hot spring lake that was a complete accident in Iceland, but turned out to be a really good accident. And this has algae in it that we call the Blue Lagoon algae, that are only found in this Blue Lagoon, and along with another algae that is also found in Japan. And so those algae plus the silicium and the salt makes a lot of mud, and that is pulled out from the water and put into bucket for people that they can pull onto their body as a mask. And that's the lady that you see on the left side on the screen is doing, isn't it, Tara?
Yes. And if for some reason the Blue Lagoon is closed because of a kind of safety issue with the volcanic activity that's happening on the Reykjanes Peninsula, our alternate activity is Sky Lagoon, which is in Reykjavik. It doesn't have blue water, but it does have a nice 7-step rituals. It's completely different, and you will be just as wowed by it. But this is on our regular schedule, so that we will stop here. You will enjoy the hot water, do the masks, and then you can take showers and blow dry your hair, and then you go to the airport and you'll be nice and refreshed for your 6-hour flight home, or however long it takes you to get home. So getting to Iceland and how to sign up. So how do you get to Iceland? Like I said, I'll provide you with detailed travel parameters. You will fly into the Keflavik International Airport. KEF is the airport code. There is an airport in Reykjavik, but that's a domestic airport. And the flights on Iceland Air from O'Hare, Minneapolis, JFK, Newark, Seattle, Boston, they have direct flights on Iceland Air, and the flights are anywhere from like $850 to $1,100 round trip. Other airlines like United and Delta in the summer have direct flights also to Reykjavik. And you need a passport valid for 6 months beyond your travel dates of going to Iceland. Okay, how do you sign up? So you can go to greenadventures.com. And you will go to Iceland as a destination, and you'll see all of our destinations listed there. So, and I'll take you there in just a second. But in particular, all 3 of these multi-sport trips, Emily's trip, with Thora, and my trips with Inga are $46.95. A deposit of $950 is due February 15th, and then you pay in 4 equal installments, and they're March, April, May, June. And we do have limited single upgrades available. So those of you who want your own space, there are still a couple out there for you can upgrade. But if you're willing to be paired with a roommate, which most of our travelers are, there's no forced single supplements. There's only a single supplement upgrade if you want that. Okay. So let's take a quick look here at just how to sign up, because it opens up a different window. I see some of your questions coming through in the chat. That's great. Keep putting those in there. We'll address some more questions in a second. But can you see my website now, Cheryl? Yep. Okay, yep. So we would go from the website, you go to Iceland, and here is a list of all of our Iceland trips. The ones that are crossed out are wait list, and then you would just click on one, and then all the details are here about the itinerary and overview and a couple of videos. And we have interest-free payments for installments. This is all-inclusive minus most meals. And why don't we include the meals? Because it's actually better for you that we don't include meals. At the restaurants, you can order off your own menu and then just walk up to the counter and tell them what you bought or what you ordered and just pay directly. There's no like splitting bills or trying to figure out who paid what. It's just the easiest way to do that. Otherwise, in the package price, I would need to like budget the most expensive meal for everybody. And what if that day you just had soup? So this is just the majority of your tourism dollars here are going to an amazing guide who's going to be taking care of you, and it's going to all these extra activities that most people don't do when they go to Iceland. Most people just drive around, or they get on a big bus tour, a really cheap big bus tour, and then get dropped off and tour around and then go back to Reykjavik. So this is a really nice a nice itinerary that gets you like up close and personal with Iceland, in my opinion. Great. Any questions?
Yeah, what I like about your itineraries, Tara, is also that I mean, you not only get to see a lot of things, you get to do a lot of things, and you get to meet other Icelanders as well, and you get to participate in activities that, like you say, not everyone does.
Mhm.
And that adds a lot to the experience of the tour. So I really like that.
And that's coming from somebody who does these tours too. So it does a lot of different tours. And one of the things too that Inga and I talked about last summer is because actually I met Inga for the first time last summer. I was on a speed dating of guides, basically. 1 week to the next was like a new guide. We just had, there was just that time of our programming where we needed to start looking for additional help. And so I hadn't worked with Inga, and we had instant connection. And so we were talking about just what is Green Adventures guides? What makes our guides special? And is that they're not just like bus drivers, they're adventurers. They know a spirit of adventure. So, I mean, Inga is like a hiker, like Inga, what are your outdoor activities? You do some pretty cool stuff.
Well, I do, these days I'm doing skiing. I teach people to do northern style cross-country skiing with me and my husband. And we also have like a club where people pay us on an annual base to take them out on tours, both on day tours and longer tours. So this is a lot our winter activity. Then I do a lot of hiking. I do a lot of swimming, both in the hot springs or the hot swimming pools, geothermal pools, but also in the sea. I like sea swimming. I think there's an ecstasy to it. I can't explain it otherwise. You have to try it. And yes, and then I like to explore and see new things, and I do yoga as well a lot. I've been doing that for over 25 years. So that's one of the things that I do, but yeah.
Well, I think too, like, what you brought, like that you bring, in addition to the adventure component, you've got amazing stories to share because you studied like ethnology.
Ethnology, yeah.
So,
I studied ethnology and tourism as well. So I did go a lot into storytelling and different, I studied a lot in Nordic mythology and the northern or the Nordic culture, let's say, Germanic and Northern culture, and all the legend and things that go with that. So yeah, I have a lot of stories up in my sleeve, more than I can tell you in one tour. You can come back with me and I can tell you all the stories.
And then also you studied, your master's thesis was on Icelandic bathing culture.
Yes, it was.
Mhm.
So I did a BA on that, but then I went back to university just before COVID, a little bit before COVID, because I felt that I needed to do something else in my life again, and I did a master's degree and program management. So
Yeah.
yes, but I could be in school my whole life because I just like learning. So,
but all the stuff is great for our guests. And the other thing is you wrote a book on wild edibles in Iceland.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, with
Foraging.
a friend of mine.
Yeah.
We published the book over 10 years ago now, that sold out in the first year. So that was pretty good.
Yeah. So lots of great. And then Emily, do you want to, like, with Thora, you spent your most time with Thora. Thora is like, she does our Logavager treks. She's also a true adventurer. She does biking trips in Vietnam. She's climbed Kilimanjaro as well. Is there anything you want to tell folks about Thora?
Yeah, she's wonderful. I think it's, talking with you, Inga, here for the first time, and just the women in Iceland are special. They're ambitious and they are diverse in their interests, and I think give you permission to be multifaceted. I think in the West, a lot of times women get sort of put into smaller boxes, and I think in Iceland, the women have many careers or many interests, and Thora was a great example of that. And she just took such good care of us. And, when we had questions, went above and beyond with how she told stories and shared. It's great. So I think it being sort of stewarded through the country by anybody that Tara's had a good connection with, you'll be in good hands. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
Thanks.
you really, you nailed it on the head there. It's like, yeah, it's the multifaceted, the I can do anything attitude, the I like not attitude, but it's like like you have to, like I'm not held back. I can do anything. And just inspiring, like they yeah. So that I think also Iceland itself, our guides, the activities, that's the reason why there are so many tours that we're adding, because I'm in love with it, and I know you all will be too.
I
Great.
hope so.
Yeah, I know they will. So those, I know that we're about 5 minutes over. So if anybody, obviously you can always leave. If anybody needs to use the restroom, now's the time to do it. But we'll stick around to answer any questions. I did see that Dixie had asked about the horseback riding. And so it's a 2-hour horseback riding is scheduled, but because we're staying at the horse farm, we have to see what the timing of everything is. You might be able to add additional horseback riding if you want. And they were so willing and accommodating to do that before, but we didn't ask until it was kind of too late. So I do know that's an option. So it would be for an extra fee, but we could set it up so that you could have more time to ride. Okay. Any other questions? Nobody asked about the food, and I didn't put this. I was running out of time with my slides, and the food is amazing. I remember before I went to Iceland for the very first time, I pictured putrid shark and like I don't know, pickled herring as being the only thing I could eat. Now, granted, you can get those things, right, Inga? You can get that if you want.
Yes, you can get it.
Yeah, you get.
Well, the shark is getting harder and harder to get because it's the Greenland Icelandic shark is probably we have been overfishing it. So now it's I don't, for example, I won't propose it any longer to my tourists.
Oh,
I don't want to be responsible for the extinction of an animal on this planet.
Yeah. Well, and in our materials too, we ask people not to get the shark, and then also not to buy whale. So that's we ask you not to contribute to those two economies, I guess. But the point is the food is delicious, and it's mostly lamb and fish. So like trout, cod, salmon are the main fish. And you can get some beef and some chicken, but those are the main. And then for vegetarians, I found that there's a lot of good options for vegetarians. And Emily, are you a vegetarian?
I'm not, but I had a vegan on my trip, and sometimes she had this just amazing spread of options. Everybody's been very accommodating for the various diets. Yeah.
Good. The only time I ever had an issue with a dietary restriction in Iceland, and I've had some really interesting dietary restrictions. This one was, this person had a long list. They were a vegetarian, no, vegan with a long list of vegetables they couldn't eat, like so many. And that just becomes really hard to accommodate in a place that has to import all their vegetables. So when you sign up, or before you sign up, if you're watching this and you have a real strict dietary restriction, please contact me first, and I can tell you if we can work with that or not before you sign up. Good. So that's the foods. And so breakfast, I would say, is, I think, like kind of the most different from the stuff that we eat at home. It's not really an American breakfast. It's more of a European breakfast. So they will have like a spread of, they have breads, cheeses, sliced meats, sliced cucumbers, tomatoes, hard-boiled eggs, muesli, yogurt, and some fruits. That's typically what we see at the hotels. And then coffee, tea, milk, and they tend to have a non-dairy like option too, like almond milk or soy milk. And then lunches could be soups and breads, salads. Sometimes we don't do a sit down lunch. We'll just get something quick in passing, or we'll get like a takeout lunch. We'll go to the gas station, which has very fresh food. So you can go there and get sandwiches, or go to the grocery store, and then maybe we'll go on one of our hikes. We'll just have a picnic lunch. And another common question I get is how much are meals? Since meals aren't included, how much should I budget? I would anticipate anywhere from $350 on the low end to about $550 on the high end. It depends on what you're getting. Are you getting a 3-course meal every time? Are you getting alcohol with a glass of wine with your meals? Lunches are about $20 to $30. I think that's high, really depending on what you're getting. And dinners are about $35 to $50, again, depending on what you're getting. Inga, do you have anything to share about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always depending on what you're getting, but you can get soup from about 20, around, yeah, $18 to $20.
Okay.
A good chunk of soup with good bread.
I had another question people ask is, do I need to get Icelandic currency before I go to Iceland? Do I need to carry around cash? Everything there is credit card. You don't have to use cash. And so I don't suggest you go to your bank and get the Icelandic kroner. I think that you should just show up call your credit card company, make sure you're not getting charged international transaction fees, and let them know where you're going to be traveling, and use that for everything you purchase. You'll get the best exchange rate at the time with your credit card. Good. Any other questions? Okay, well then, thank you again for everyone for showing up today and taking the time to learn about Iceland and hearing our stories and why we love it so much. And I know I already recognize some of your names that are signed up on the trip, and I look forward to and I recognize some of the names of people who've emailed me with questions. So I hope that I see you in Iceland this summer, or winter, or fall. We'll be doing it all year. All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you all.
I'll stick around if anybody has any questions while it's not being recorded, but you know how to find me if you need me.